Hey, yo, we on another one. You are now tuned in to the Pot Podcast with Tigmatic, with my co-host, the real Shay Rosa, and it's
Hey.
your boy. We here, y'all. Hey, listen, I want to thank y'all again. Thank y'all for supporting, showing love to the show, and watching and tuning in. Without y'all, I wouldn't be going still. You know what I'm saying? And we here now. So without further ado, I have a Philly great in here. You know what I'm saying? A pillar of the community. You know what I'm saying? South Philly's finest. That's hometown. That's where I'm from, South Philly. You know what I'm saying? So it's always great to have a fellow South Philly native on. And when we on, we talk like we do, So without further ado, I'm going to break it down a little bit. Bear with me. Today, my guest I have is a pillar of the community, was a professional boxer with a whopping record of 28-3, right?
Ooh.
28-3, 25 by way of knockout, which means he knocking out. Y'all know what the word is, but I ain't gonna say it. You know what I'm saying? Because we keep it clean here. You know what I'm saying? But he putting y'all on y'all back. He was putting y'all on y'all back. And in the '96 Olympics, in his pro career, he was 10-4 with one draw, 4 knockouts. You know what I'm saying? Which means, it's kind of hard to not, to not go against what he bringing. Because if you try and come at him with what you got, he gonna put you on your back. Henceforth, the name One Punch. So without further ado, I give y'all South Philly's own Simon One Punch Carter. Welcome to Carr. My bad. I'm sorry. Simon One Punch Carr, y'all. I'm tongue twisted. My mouth is dry. I need some water.
That's good.
Welcome to the pot, bro.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for being on, man. And listen, man, it was dope to be chopping it up with you all through the week. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And even the first day that we met, we was chopping it up and having good convo about some real positive things out here. I'm just thankful that you're here, man, and you're here on the pot to chop it up with us. So how you feeling today, good brother?
Oh, man, I feel good, man. I feel amazing, man. Anything less, I'll be complaining, man. So life is good. I'm feeling good.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So for those that don't know, let's break it down a bit. Tell the people a bit about what it is that you do out here. You know what I'm saying? Break it down for them.
So I'm a philanthropist.
Absolutely.
I'm a business owner. I'm a motivator, and I'm a demonstrator.
Okay.
Hey.
1, 2, 3. It's just that simple. Real talk. I mean, I motivate the people. I demonstrate through my actions, and I get it done.
Okay.
Hey.
I like that.
Yeah, I get it done.
That's definitely what's up, man. It's definitely what's up, and it's good to have you here. So, before I jump right into it, I want to say that I watched some of your highlights, bro.
I appreciate that.
Bro, you a heavy hitter, bro. You was out here putting them on their back for real. Like, Jay Weldon says, what up, by the way?
My guy.
Yeah, he told me to say what up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and that's my guy. I don't know if you know, but that was my rap partner at one point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's my guy.
That was my rap partner at one point. We was getting it in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my guy. He just hit me talking about that check he just got from the Eagles today. You know what I'm saying? From the song 19 years ago.
Yeah, he be putting the plays together, man. So
he put them plays together. That's my guy.
Yeah, I love him for that, man. That's a good dude.
Yeah, man, definitely, for sure. So,
in order to be that
before we get into it, I want to have chivalry on the show. So it's always going to be ladies first. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, go ahead.
So, Shay,
in order to be that motivator, in order to be that that go-getter that you are, and to be a pillar of the community. You have turned around so many people's lives on your path. What got you there? Like, you have to be this, and you had to have been a train, like something had to have to get inside of you in order to apply this recipe to the
Right.
people. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was your driving force as a young person? You know what I'm saying? Like, what really got the fire under you and lit that fire for you to continue on the path that you are today?
Well, anytime something drastic or dramatic happens, it always does one or two things. It alters your way of thinking, or it leads you to destruction.
Mm-hmm.
So you only got right or left. So oftentimes when we hit rock bottom, we often have a moment that's called reflection. And my reflection is, at what point in time do you hit your head on a wall? Do you say, "Hey, this has gotta hurt,"
Right.
And I experienced it, I felt it, and I told myself, "Listen, I don't want to go through this and this pain or this feeling, I should say. I need to expound this and so nobody else won't feel this and express it."
Mm.
So through my actions, here I am. I was put in a position really to lead and show, like, hey, if I go through that, hopefully you wouldn't have to go through that.
Right. Shine an
Hey,
example
so
for
before
others.
we get further into the
Also,
deep part, Shay started with the deep question first. You
sorry,
know what I'm
he's
saying?
motivated. He's
But
No,
that was
that
a
was
great
light. That was
answer. You
cool.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was
But
light
before
though.
we get into the deep part, because
Yeah,
we do it by a time stamp. I already talked to
yeah,
you about that.
yeah,
Uh,
that's cool.
the first half we're gonna talk about you as a fighter. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
So let's get into that. Let's talk about how you got started in boxing and how that came about. Let's talk about it a bit.
Well, ultimately, it's like anybody else, story or triumph. I started in the streets of South Philly. We lived in a rough section. You know that. And I specifically grew up on 24th Street, like 24th and Christian. Went to Pierce Middle School, and I lived
On the
like on
other side,
23rd Street. Yeah, across the tracks, and
across the
that was a rough
tracks,
section. Yeah, that was a rough section. And
for sure.
late 80s, early 90s. I mean, for me, that was probably the most treacherous area, known to man. And
It
so
was.
and we all know that if you can make it in South Philly, my mindset, you can make it anywhere in the world, because that was rough. I didn't, at the time, of course, you don't know it's that rough. You just know that you're going through things. And every day I found myself fighting in school. Every time I turn around, I'm fighting, and I'm getting suspended from school and getting sent home. And every time I come back from off of suspension, I'm fighting again. And one day, but the interesting thing about that journey was the fact of I was always drawing a crowd. Like, like it started off with probably 50 people. And then the next thing you know, it's 75. Next thing you know, it's 200 people outside on a bus stop corner, standing on cars, swinging book bags, saying Simon fighting, Simon fighting. So one day, and I wish at that time they did have social media, because just the residuals on YouTube, IVP. but
Yeah.
yeah, but
yeah, news.
just yeah, that in TikTok. So anyway,
Yeah, we
one
ain't
day
had
I
none of
found
that.
myself in front. Yeah, one day I found myself in front of my house, and it's about 200 to 300 people on my whole block. They standing on cars, they jumping up and down. Somehow my uncle was in the house, and he heard the commotion, and he came outside and looked, who are all these kids out here? And he saw I was in the middle of the air fighting. And he came outside and he broke up the fight and pulled me in the house. He said, "Damn it, man! Every time you turn around, you fighting. If you like to fight so well and you fight so much, why don't you go to a gym and get paid for it?" And I
Right.
said, "Damn, that was an interesting story." And so I went to a boxing gym and I never looked back.
Right,
So where'd
right.
you train at?
That was a
So
question.
my first journey that I ever, first time I ever knew about a gym, and the first time I ever traveled in my life, my uncle gave me instructions and told me to go to Broad Street, take the 12 to go to Broad Street, get off at Broad Street, Broad and Ellsworth, and then go down on the sub and take it northbound and go all the way to Broad and Lehigh. When you get
Broad
off
and
at
Lehigh.
Lehigh, come up the street, go left, go down a half a block. If you go past a bridge, you will miss it. You will have to come somewhere. It's in Glenwood, Broad and Glenwood. He was sending me my first instruction, the first time I ever traveled by myself ever. He was giving me the instructions to go to Joe Frazier's gym. So when I got
Legendary Joe
there,
Frazier's gym.
shout out to Joe
This is a
Frazier. So
legendary place, folks, for those that don't know. And
the
if
one
you've
that
been
knocked out
sleeping under a
Muhammad
rock
Ali.
for the past 30 years, it's
Beautiful.
impossible for you to not know,
Yeah.
this is a legendary place. Absolutely. So you started
So I
fighting
went
in
to the
Joe
gym.
Frazier's gym. What happened from there?
From there, um, just to make the travel from South Philly to North Philly, it got to be too, long and too much. And it was a hassle with my family. They really didn't want me box early on. So, naturally, they would try to naturally discourage you. Oh, you got to do your chores. Oh, because, kids at that time, one minute they want to do karate, they want to do basketball. They really don't know. So they was trying to move me out of that because they thought it was so violent. But I was living in a violent time, so that was a safe haven. So um, they like, listen, you don't do your chores or whatever. Let's see how this summer goes. So they try to fizzle that out. And I wound up stumbling across a gym that was close that I didn't know down on 17th Street, Mary Anderson gym.
Marion
So I went to
Anderson.
Mary Anderson at 12 years old, and I started a portal that opened up a door that took me all across the world. And I'm
Hey
forever
man,
grateful
that's
because had it
dope.
not
That's
been,
dope. And Marion Anderson is a legendary place as well because this is where everybody came to swim in the summer. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? And it wasn't
yeah,
just in South Philly, it was people coming from north, west, just to swim there.
yeah.
This is where I learned to swim as well, Marion Anderson. So, you
Wow.
know what I'm saying? Okay. So what age were you when you got into the Olympics? Tell the people about that a bit.
I think I was qualifying at 15 going on 16. 16 and a half going on 17. Yep. Yeah, that was the 96 Olympic team with the likes of Floyd Mayweather, Zab Judah, Fernando Vargas, Antonio Tarver. That was a big play. That's all the major superstars that controlled the sport at this time. They were all trying to qualify. And on the eve of me going out to qualify as an Olympic alternate, subsequently, somebody was breaking in my home, and where me and my elderly grandma resided at, and out of the fear for the safety of my life and protecting my grandma, subsequently I fired at the intruders and didn't know that, later on somebody got hurt. And I'm young, they young, and it happened to be a little kid that, nobody, well, younger than me. I'm 16, so we're age younger, 13-year old, you know, subsequently learned some few days later that they lost their life. You know what I'm saying? And, it was a tragic situation. It was one
Absolutely.
that really affected everybody in the neighborhood because we all close knit. And it's something that I deal with and my family deal with. We all deal with it because You know what I'm saying? It was just I'm protecting my grandmom. They out doing, and nobody would know at 5 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, and subsequently it was ruled as self-defense. And then, a year and a half later, I was found, guilty of third degree, where I served nearly a decade, what I mean, away. And yeah, and bam, took me out the sport, took me out of, away from my family, you know, my whole, what I mean, uh,
Troubling
20s.
time for you, man.
Yeah, 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 a
Right.
decade, and where
Behind bars.
everybody thought that, what I'm saying, that it was over, and like, damn, what I'm saying, he was promising. I just remember, just, that was a pivotal time for me in my life and my family life, and just wanted, like anything else, when you in a storm, your only hopes and feelings is when it's raining, you trying to get to the other end when it's a
Right.
period of darkness.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Definitely. Definitely you want to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What was your when you came out of that situation at the end of that decade, and you knew that people were counting you out, and after that, when you finally were like, listen, I'm gonna see this light, and I don't care about who's counting me out or who's saying this is the end for me. I know I have my legs and my life to stand on. What really, who were your supporters at that time when you came out and said, you know what, we got you, we in the corner with you, and we're gonna push our way out? Who was there with you?
Well, naturally, it was my grandma. Um, well, one thing I gotta expound on is the fact that I lost both of my parents at an early age. My dad died the day I was born, right? And he was murdered. And then I found my mom at the age of 7. And, so, and from 7 on, so, me and my, siblings, we were, me and my sister at the time, we were moved from family member to family member. And then, we were, struggling, and we was homeless for a while, and, kids just, and then subsequently my grandmom found me and, nurtured me back to health. And, we were, seemed like we was trying to get everything together. So that's a traumatic circumstance, and going through
Absolutely.
all those things, and
Mm,
for both of me and my siblings, and we're trying to get ourselves together. And then we kind of got broke apart because nobody wanted to take three kids. Well, I had an older sister, she was in college, probably like her first year in college. And then me and my sister, my other sister, she's probably about 3 years older than me. So we were moved from here to there, and nobody, they would take us for a minute, and then they like, yo, so now we want go through the traumatic experience of being split apart, where we was inseparable. And my sister was moved to the opposite side of the city. And then I was younger, so I was the youngest. And then so my grandma took me. She was like, well, so then that kind of sparked, things, because my older sister, of course, felt like, damn, well, why she didn't take my other sister? But nobody, what I mean, like, if
right.
they got to, they don't like the yeah, we don't want to split the kids up, but
Yeah.
somebody, like, that's a burden in itself, with
It
two,
is.
three
It
young
is.
children in the household. So, like,
Yeah.
nah, my sister was like hitting a teenager, and she going through things, and she, what I mean, like, missing my mom,
Changes
and
as a woman.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
everything.
you got nobody want you not listening, and adolescents taking in, and you dealing with boys. Like nobody want to deal with that. Like so she
Yeah,
went through her rebellious stage, and that kind of put a wedge in between us, and you know how that is. So
Yeah.
you
Right.
dealing with you dealing with homegrown and family pains from all sort
All
of
angles.
directions. You feel
Yeah.
me? Yeah,
But you turned yourself around. You showed everybody that regardless
you
of
definitely
whatever
turn things around.
is pushed up against me from all angles, I can still I can still climb up out of this and make something of myself, and then also affect my community and reach out to everybody and build other people up at the same time. So that's an
thank you.
amazing transformative story that I am so blessed to be in your presence and for you to be able to share that
Yeah,
with
Shay
everyone.
was really interested in your story as well.
Because I just
Yeah,
You
want
know, you
I
told me your
appreciate that.
story before,
Hmm.
we talked about it on air, and we was on the phone for like an hour, so we was talking about
Yeah,
things. And
I did some research on you. I do know your story before you came on, but the others
thank
don't.
you.
I just wanted to tell you I'm very blessed to be in your presence and everything you've been through. I love
Yeah,
hearing stories of people changing their lives and their communities around them. So thank you for that.
thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. Listen, man, I want to ask you this question because it's
Go
been
ahead.
on my mind since you told me your record.
Right.
Who was your favorite fight and why?
Dang, who's gonna ask this
Wow.
question?
I felt like damn, I had some great fights, and I had some decorative and recognizable fighters. Right. I fought like a guy, um, in the air, like 2, 3 great fighters in the amateurs that they went on to be world champions, and they went on and did traumatic things. Um, Damn, I just had his name on the tip of my tongue. He was shit. Randy Griffin. Randy Griffin was front mile of Philadelphia. He went on to win the WBC title. He was a great fighter. He fought with he trained with 26 and Masters um with what's his name? He trained with like Zaire Rahim, who was on the Olympics, and he trained with what's his name? Malik Scott, who, trained um Deontay Wilder, and he was a great fighter. Like I've
What
been
was that
around.
like? What was that like to fight him? Like,
Yeah, it was good. I mean, these guys, so I come up in the sport, and all the ones that really come up in the sport, I started boxing at 12, right?
yeah,
So my pedigree is different than, well, naturally now these kids, when you're looking at um, Ryan Garcia, uh, Devin Haney, you look at
yeah.
Tank Davis, they've been fighting since eight,
Who's your
nine
favorite
years
between
old.
them three? Between Tank, Ryan, and who's the other one you just mentioned?
Davis.
Yeah,
Davis.
Tank Ryan, and Devin Haney.
Devin Haney.
Um,
Who's your favorite? Who you like better between the three?
Well, I love Tank, right? I just had this conversation. I just talked about this on somebody else's podcast, right?
Yeah,
I'm making a pivotal statement of the pedigree. What I'm talking about with the pedigree is the ones that's dominating the sport right now. We've got time, and we've been in it all our life, right? We've got years invested in it, right? When
yeah,
you take a guy like Deontay Wilder, he started at the age of 25, and he
yeah,
did fanatic. He did fantastic, but it was different because he was a heavyweight. But when you talk about the lighter weight classes and the kids,
yeah,
early on when you talked about me, Floyd, Zab, we all started like 12. Now the pedigrees, these kids are starting to box at 5 years old,
yeah.
7
They getting them
competing
started
at
early.
7. Yeah, and so naturally they absorb more as sponges. Kids now, when I train kids, they before we wouldn't even allow them in the gym to about 8 or 9 years old, right? And then the way it was, you couldn't compete till 12. But now kids is competing at 5, and they're learning how to box. So like, wow, I'm looking at it. When you look at Floyd's grandson, he got him in there. He probably like 2 or 3, and he's learning just by being observant. You know what I mean? He got the gloves on, running around. That's NBA YoungBoy son by Floyd's daughter. Yaya.
Right.
And this kid Floyd is a grandfather, and he's teaching his son probably about 3 years old. So this kid will probably start competing at 5, and so he has a wealth of knowledge and time on his side. So when you're talking about my boxing IQ and the time and the energy, when I started boxing, and then probably about 14 years old, started going away to camps and learning under Pernell Whitaker and different great fighters of Ivan Robinson and a lot of different other fighters that had ring generalship and they had boxing prowess. That was a different level. And so when I started competing, and I'm already competing at this time, my level of boxing was way ahead of a lot of them guys because the things you're exposed to. So
Right.
let me break this down. And I understand that because I was just talking about this on somebody else's podcast about the level of um the level of um what you see is what you're exposed to. Floyd,
Yeah.
and when we're talking about Floyd, and Floyd's a great fighter, and everybody say, "Yo, he's money made. He's money made." Yeah, right. It was because of what he got exposed to. Floyd, when he first came out the Olympics, he moved to Las Vegas, right? And when he
Right.
moved to
Yeah.
Las Vegas, at that time, subsequently, he moved to Las Vegas, and Mike Tyson moved to Las Vegas. Mike Tyson took a liking to Floyd, and Mike Tyson had over 50, 60 cars and would give Floyd his 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 uh his Rolls Royce or his Ferrari, and Floyd be driving around the streets in Las Vegas. And so
Right.
he was exposed to the big cars, not the Hellcats and all that other bullshit American made cars. He saw all
Oh,
foreign.
don't curse, don't
So,
curse, don't curse.
I'm sorry, yeah. So he was exposed to all the foreign cars, and so when he became big, he got over 50 cars.
Right.
So it's exposed to him. It's all about how you expose. So being around the exposure expands the mind. And so, um,
Right.
now he has a wealth. he- Mike was one of the richest and wealthiest boxers in the world, right? And Floyd was right there. And so now we pass it along to the next generation, which was Devin Haney and Tank. Tank came from Baltimore. He came, he lived with Floyd, he trained at his gym. He was driving Floyd cars. He saw the wealth that Floyd obtained through boxing and took Tank to the next level. Floyd
Right.
don't have just cars, Floyd got jets. So he's flying around with Floyd private. Oh, this is what this kid is seeing. So that
Right.
expands his mind.
Right.
Devin
Right.
Haney was another one. Devin Haney was around Floyd since he was a kid. They come from Detroit. They moved to Vegas, and he was in the gym at 8 years old under Floyd. Floyd took a liking to him. Floyd would have him in the cars with him. And so Devin got over 50 cars, right? So our lifestyles are totally different because we're East Coast kids, right?
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so, you know, we would say, damn, why would you need 50 cars? Or if I get 20 cars, I'm getting American made cars. I might got a, you know, Escalade, or I might got a Mercedes Benz, but then I got all these fast cars and you know uh um Camaro and all that. That's like, all right, yeah, that's cool. But when you get a different level of of, of prestige, then
Right.
like when I bought my first Mercedes Benz, right? I'm fighting with the people, and I was like, man, they tell me the number. I said, damn, this nice, and I said, well, I can get two of these cars for this, right? And
Right.
the lady looked at me and was like, yeah, you can, but it ain't this Benz. You know what I mean? It's a different
Right.
prestige.
Different
And when I
level.
started,
Yeah.
I
Right.
Yeah.
understood it, right? And I didn't understand it to the full capacity, and it came about when I got it. I understood it, and I was like, damn. And now I understand even to the next level when I'm doing business meetings, right? And I'm coming out, right? And people say, hey, what you doing? I said, oh, I ain't doing nothing. They said, well, where you at? I said, I'm outside. They're walking me to my car. They like, well, what you driving? Where you at? Right? And I'm saying, oh, I'm driving that. That determines what type of business they're going to give me.
Yeah, that
And
makes
I
sense
never
though.
even knew that, right? So they would say, if we were leaving a business meeting, and they were like, hey, where you at? I said, whoa, I'll follow you to your car. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And they're like, no, they want to sit because
Right.
we can't step you up to a certain level unless you show a certain level. That's like you dating a woman
Absolutely.
and she says on a date, we in a mall, and then she say, well, come on and let's go to Louis Vuitton. And I'll say, okay, let's go to Louis Vuitton. Don't you want to buy me this bag? And but if she don't have a Louis Vuitton or Gucci or something, what makes you think I would want to step her up on that level? If she got a Michael Kors bag, and nothing wrong with Michael Kors, but what would make you determine where the level is for you to just dictate where we at? But if we have and she has the top bag on and she's well kept and she said, hey, babe, we on, vacation or we out, don't you want to take me? You know what I mean? Damn, I want this bag. Well, I would say, yeah, you deserve it. Get what you want.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the level.
All right.
Am
So
I
let me
wrong?
ask
If
you.
you're a woman, I'm asking her, let's ask her a question. Do you understand that? Do you think that's off, or am I right on that, on point?
I understand what you're speaking about on the level, because if somebody wants to, they're not going to upgrade somebody if they're not familiar with that point of view.
Right.
Right.
So if
Because
you
it could be
can't
too
bring
much
me,
at one time for a
right, it could
person.
be too much. If you can't bring me into a fine establishment, right, you're not going to bring me there because there would be no point. You wouldn't be able to even address me in that establishment because I wouldn't be even know how to behave, right?
Right.
Pretty much what you're saying is like, why would I even take someone to that point if they're not going to be able to handle it? And so I get that. I get that. We're not gonna upgrade until someone's ready for
Right.
those types of things. You know what I mean? So we want to see people get there, obviously, but we want to see that they're making those steps, and that if they're already being able to upgrade themselves, then we know that they're already steps are being made.
The
So
proper
All right. So I
etiquette.
want to ask you,
Go ahead.
man.
I'm sorry.
I want to ask you this. Tell the people, well, not ask you, but I want you to tell the people a bit about your running politics. Tell the people about that and how you got started in that as well.
Well, I mean, it's just like anything else. I saw there was a void. I saw that we needed change, and I'm very effective in my community, and I'm very effective, so on a social level. And so, my only drawback at the time, right, is like I said, I grew up in, um, you know, the north side of South Philadelphia, and then it started getting gentrified, and
Yeah,
more
yeah, they
people was,
definitely
and you know
gentrified. It
that,
look crazy
and
now from what I heard.
right, yeah, gentrified is crazy, and my my only drawback and takeaway that made me very upset was the fact that we could never understand and never could see it. If our old heads would have gave us proper teaching and games of saying like, hey, you need to invest in this property or get this a
Yeah,
lot or go
we
down
could have
there
been
and get
owning
this.
the hood and treating our hood a whole lot better if we owned it. And because we don't own things, this is what happens. That's what happened to the hood. You know, it was a lot of unnecessary things going on because we didn't have nothing,
Yeah,
especially in
and
South Philly, especially in the part where you from, bro. Bro, I'm gonna keep it all the way funky. You know, like I know, you from 24th Street, I'm from 17th Street. We had to make it back home from y'all and all the
yeah,
time. Like,
yeah,
yeah, like if we went to St. Charles and they seen us in St. Charles and they're like, oh yeah, that's 17th Street, and they on the other side, you had to make it back home. You know what I'm
you
saying?
had to make it back
And it
home,
was
right,
because a lot of us didn't have nothing though. And if we
right.
had something, it wouldn't have been that way. You know what I'm saying? So tell the people a bit more about that. You know what I'm saying?
And which, like I said, in which sparked a conversation and a different energy for me. The fact of not having and not being properly educated. You know, um, you know, uh, Jay said it best. The streets, raised me, but I wasn't educated properly.
Right,
And so they didn't give me the proper game. And when I
right.
found out later on, I was like, damn it. So I lived in I moved down to 17th Street subsequently, and I lived on 17th and Fitzwater for over 12 years, right next to Mary Anderson.
Okay.
I'm like, so I could come outside of my home and go right to Mary Anderson, in my
Yeah.
flip flops, ball shorts. That's how close I was, right? And so I lived there, and then so I seen the change and the shift dramatically, right? And um, so now everybody's making a move and a staple. Kenyatta came and he went for state rep, and then he took a step down from state, well, no, a step up from state rep and went on the city side. He put Jordan Harris, which is a cousin
That's
of
my
mine.
cousin, bro.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Jordan Harris is my
we
cousin.
right. See, so yeah, and that's family. So put him there, and then from there, so they took over the ward, and I lived on the 30th ward. So Kenyatta took the, 46th ward, and then later on in life, Anti Moore took the 42nd ward. So I had a powerful position. I was bringing them across the tracks. They was, meeting and greeting different people. It was a different dollar on our side because we had the YMCA, we got Southna and everything, and I was deep in. So we hit a point where they were getting ready to shut down Stanton, and I was very vocal in that, and I brought the politicians to the table. Kenyatta was a personal friend of mine. Jordan was family. I got all the people involved, and we stopped that. Then I've, being around a Y all the time, and being involved with the YMCA, and like you said, St. Charles and all the committee groups. I knew them, but they didn't. I knew them because I lived in the neighborhood, and they knew me from being a boxer and being visual, right? But I didn't know that influence was dollars, and I didn't know that influence were votes. I didn't know, nobody educated me and said, Punch, you need to get on these boards. You
Right,
galvanizing the people
You have a
without
voice.
being under any policies, right? Your name is holding weight. So they never brought me to the table, and this is where I was kind of upset with those guys. Was damn, Y'all didn't educate me and get me the game of saying, hey, Punch, you need to go out for ward leader. You know, you need to go out and get on a board of Mary Anderson. You need to go out and get on a board of Sasna. And then my voice and my people, I would have
Right.
took over all that. So I
Right.
looked at them different, like, damn, y'all didn't educate me. Was it out of fear? What was it? And if it wasn't, damn, we just dropped the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
so however it went, right, and that was a personal thing, but it sparked something, and I said never again. So once I knew, and I got in a room, and I went for committee person, right?
Mhm.
Because my grandmom home is on the south side, is on
Right.
Dickinson Street, and I own my grandmom home now. So I said, hell, fuck it. I'm sorry, hell, I'm going on, and I'm a run for committee person, and I went and I ran, but they didn't tell me, say, hey, Punch, you need to go and do X, Y, and Z. We need you as a focal point in the community. I was doing that anyway. I was having people, when there was snow on the ground, I have to have people in the community, hey, sweep all these steps, take the trash out. I know all the people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, I was getting over 50 turkeys. I was giving it all to all the senior citizens. Summertime, giving them, because I always believed in Miss May or Miss
Yeah,
Mary.
looking out for the people. And that's
Yeah,
Right.
important. You know what I'm
We need
saying?
that.
That's definitely important, bro.
We need to
And
continue
and I
that
want to commend
positivity.
you for that, because
Yes.
standing up for the people in the city is important, and looking out for
yeah,
them is important. You know what I mean? Especially when you have the opportunity and means to, because you were blessed to.
yes.
Um, Shay, you got a question?
I definitely do.
I have plenty of questions, but I gotta let you rock. You know what I mean?
so this is a two-part. It's kind of a two-part question.
Go
Um,
ahead.
so your regiment, I had researched a little bit. Even when you were behind the wall, you had your regiment of working out. You have your regiment now, where you obviously have went through learning some techniques and different fighting styles. Can you tell the people a little bit about what your regiment is, and about what it takes for you, for your mental space, and then also like what it is for your physical regiment, just to prepare for the people, because it takes a lot. It does.
Yeah, it definitely does. It has. You have to have tenacity, and that's a key word. And fortitude is another key word. So, in focus is another key word. Imbalance is another key word. So, with all those things, that's what aligns me. So, my regiment, when I wake up, and I personally train myself to, because I go hard now, and so, and for all those years that me getting up, I was getting up at the crack of dawn, and I don't get up. I don't care what meetings or anything I have, right? I don't get up till after 10 o'clock now. That's my reward. I'm retired. I'm not getting up, and I'm not, because I would get up all for a majority part of my life. For, I would say, 60% of my life, I got up before the sun came up, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I would say, no, I'll take that back, right?
Hmm.
For over, for over 75% of my life,
Hmm.
I, I attribute to waking up early, right? 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. I go running at 6. I'm back by 7. About 5:30, I'm out. But I'm preparing. So that mental preparation starts about 4:30, 5 o'clock. It don't matter. And I've done that for about 25 years, right? And
Wow.
even when I was in prison, right, I would do that, right, and get up and just start doing, because then when I first went to prison, they didn't have like the standard standing count and check. They would just go and check the rooms. but I think I would say like 98, somebody tried to escape or escape prison, and then they came, the governor sent down a Moran that made you stand at 6 a.m. and be head counted. And if you didn't, you was going right to the hole. So from, I would say, so from 90, uh, 08, 09 to shit, I'm sorry, to '04. So that
Mhm.
was that 10 years. I was, the standing for count and then going out right into the yard and running. So I made a pivotal point. And then even before that, when I got into the ordeal, getting up early to go to court. So that was draining and all
Right.
that. So you do a combination from the time of elementary school, preparing your mind to go out and train and then go to school, right? I would race the school bus. I would run so fast and I'm like, yo, I got like 30 minutes to get dressed so I could get on a school bus or catch the 29 to go to high school. So I did that elementary school, middle school, high school, then went through the duration of the bad times. And even during a bad time, they made me stand and go to yard and all that. So that was another decade. And then when I came home, I'm getting up still early in the morning at the crack of dawn and running. So which takes
Dedication.
me,
That's
yeah,
that's
which takes me, yeah, go ahead.
hard.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. That just takes heart. That takes mental, like, just strength to be able to just do this on like on the wheel. You
So
know.
let me freak it. Let me freak it and give you this next play. The next play was this. I was so dedicated and disciplined, right? Right. And I loved the proudness of being an athlete, right? And investing in that for so long. But I also felt through all of the ordeals that I went through, I was shallow. And
Mm,
shallow meaning that you can excel in certain things, but you can be shallow in other things. And I never wanted to really be a one trick pony. Case in
mm,
point, if I was just a boxer and I was a left hand fighter, right, and I only had the jab or the left hook, right, if I was in a fight and I broke my hand, then that's all I had. I was all he had is the left hook. We see that all the time in basketball, football, and everything. All he has
Yeah.
is this. They one trick ponies. They don't have no other magic trick. So I've really
Right.
preparated and prepared myself um to change the course of what I want to be. And that
right.
took focus and fortitude to switch and do a pivot because I see now athletes, and they didn't have a lane for this before, right?
Right.
Thank God that they do have a lane for this. When an athlete is retired, they can now be analysts. When you see Shaq and all them talking and different things, and or be a coach. But
Is that
before,
something you interested in now?
I mean, the commentating part because I do know it, and somebody brought it to my attention before. No, not so much visual, but I can bring the the educational and the animation because I can talk it like I walk it. When I see guys like these new guys that's coming and infiltrating the sport, but they don't know anything about the sport, then I'm offended and I'm affected by it because it's like, all right, but they things like when you look at like the Gillies and the Wallows, I don't have a specific uh, problem with them, but I don't see myself. I may watch baseball, but I don't know baseball, so I can't really. I may know several key players in baseball, or taking point, case in point, track and field or soccer. Right? I watched it. I may know certain athletes in it and the stars in it, but I don't know enough to commentate and talk about it. Right?
Right.
So when you look at guys coming over and they talking to Benavidez and this one and that one, I'm not really and they're not asking really the right questions, they just asking from a fan perspective but not being in it. but I do understand because it's not really a love sport like it used to be. So if you don't have the eyes on it and the energy, then it dies. Because
Right.
like anything, it needs the proper attention. That's like life. When you're in a relationship, if you don't give it the proper attention, ultimately it's going to die. They're going to say, "Hey,
Absolutely.
this ain't working.
Right.
Maybe we may need to go our separate ways." So
Right. Right.
my takeaway and my add to it is only to enhance the sport and talk about it from that perspective. So yeah, if that's being said, then that should be a driving force for me.
Right. Right. Right.
All right, so let's talk about your slogan, man. And we was all supposed to say it when we
Yes.
first started. We said we was all gonna say it
Yes.
after you. So why don't you say it and then we do exactly what we said we was gonna do?
Where they at, man? Where they at? Just say that. This where they at,
We're
and
Where
then
there.
they at?
where
We
they
there.
at, and
We
then
everywhere.
We
They
everywhere.
never there.
there you
They
go.
never.
There
Y'all
you
hear
go.
it?
They
So
never
let's
did.
talk about that slogan, man, and let's talk about how that came about and how it became popular, even in the music industry and the sports industry as well. Because we see you, you know what I'm saying? For those that do know you, we see you. You know what I'm saying? You're around all of the big heads, the big wigs, and the top dogs in the music and sports entertainment. And you got them all saying it. So let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? How did that begin? And how did they catch on to it?
So it started me very young being exposed to it, like I was talking about with Floyd, and so about 14 years old, I was already around the likes of Biggie Smalls,
Let's talk
um,
about that too. You know what I'm saying? What was
being
that?
around Jay Z early on in the beginning of his career, and Foxy and Corrupt and all these guys. So the things that you're seeing me doing now, I was doing it over 20 years ago prior. Matter of fact, longer than that, 30 years ago. So I was doing that, and I had built relationships. I was around it. And yeah. And so 14 years old, 13 years old, meeting Big, and Big was coming up. I was instrumental in Big actually forming a relationship with Charlie Baltimore.
Oh yeah.
And
Charlie.
Another
yeah,
MC that's the legend out here,
yeah,
Charlie
from
Baltimore,
Philadelphia.
from
From Philadelphia.
who's rapping with Cameron.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Shout out
when
Yeah.
Cameron.
she rapped with Cameron,
Also Big's artist.
yeah, when she rapped with Cameron, I was going there. But the early part, so Big and them did a show here in Philly, and Big was coming to Philly all the time. Philly was one of his first markets that they broke Big in. Big, Craig Mack, you know,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah.
Big would come back to Philly 4, 5, 6 times. And I knew the promoters. One of my cousins actually was working in the club, and he was head of security. So I was going down to Gotham's. I was going down to the eighth floor. I was going down to Fevers. They had all the
Fever
security
was the
on lock.
John Club.
I,
Fever.
I was going
Wow.
down to
You took
yeah,
it back.
I was going down to Lumberjack. I was going down to Illusions, all those things after
Illusions,
midnight.
Club Illusions, right off 7th and Arch.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
where it kicked off at, and then right around the corner where the Fed building is at, that was Lumberjack and Club Charlie Mack. So that you can do 2 or 3 clubs right in there, and then at that time, I was always going to club dancers under Bobby Dance, and Bobby Dance took a
Bobby.
liking to
Yeah.
me, and he made me one of his young promoters because I was already influencer. So I was doing this stuff
Yeah.
even before I even knew I was doing it, right? And I was around the likes of Charlie Mack and Big Scott and Steve Brody and Daryl Schuler. They were my mentors. They were the ones that really took a liking, took me under their wing. I was one of the youngest ones that I was running with them, and and so you pick up what you see. So I'm
Right.
doing all these things and I'm in these rooms, but I'm not knowing what, sure, that was just something because I just like the nightlife, but my day life, I was a boxer. And so they took a liking to me and they allowed me in these clubs because they was protecting me because they said, well, he's getting ready to be something. So he needs to be around that, right?
Right.
And so my grooming was totally different. So it's not like when I walk in these rooms now and I'm around these people, I have the wealth of knowledge because before I didn't have a identity as to what I was doing, right? I just was doing it, right? And somebody had said this to me. I actually had the conversation with Charlie because me and Charlie's very particular, and we kind of like bumped heads early on. Charlie father used to like train me. He was working in Marianne. He was a trainer. Charlie was managing one of the fighters there that was a good friend of mine. He was in Ali, the movie. He had
Oh,
him on tour with him because, Will Smith came to Philly and we were shooting for Ali and they was looking for a different part. So they was trying to offer me like the part maybe Joe Frazier, but one of my other guys got that role.
right.
But
That's still dope.
Platonic, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said that was dope, by the way.
So so Charlie um Charlie had love for me. He raised me, right? And I always give him the props, but he didn't really understand. Like when I stepped away from boxing, they just started seeing me in the rooms. I was in LA, I was in all these places, and I didn't know what I was doing. What like they didn't bother me, but I had healthy relationships because I was around all these people early on. So I just went
Right.
back to doing what I know, right? And so Charlie, Charlie is one of those things, and a friend of mine explained it to me in the best way. Um, when you start seeing a person pop up in all these different rooms, right? One minute he's over here with Obama, and he's over here with this guy, and he's over here with this athlete. They like, well, what the hell is he doing? You know what I mean? But it's real recognized real because they're taking me from for my energy. They like, yo, I mess with one punch, so I'm going over there, punch, come on in. You know what I'm saying? With I had a relationship with I had a relationship with I gotta put this light back on. Hold up.
Oh,
I had a relationship with I had a relationship with um so many people. I had a relationship with like Kevin Hart and you know Dame Dash and everything. So one day, and I never even knew, Kev was giving a party. A friend of mine invited me to a surprise party in New York City. So I go up to New York City and they had Meek and Kev and all the top artists, right? So so it was 3 floors. And so they had the A-listers on, I think, the second or the third floor. So my friend that invited me, they had me on the first. And so I was like, yo, I'm going upstairs to see Kev. I said, damn, why they got me on the first? You invite me to this party. But he was like, later on, you can come upstairs, but they only got all the A-listers. I said, well, I got a relationship with them. But he don't know that. He's thinking I'm pump faking, right? So I'm
Right.
like, man, so you trying to keep me downstairs. So I was like, I'm going up there. He's like, man, they front on you, that's on you. Plus, man, I don't care what you. So I go upstairs and the
Tig.
Froze up one
I'm
punch.
looking for you. He's like, one punch.
Okay.
Cap opened the door. He said, one punch. What what you doing here? Come on, man. So then Meek and everybody all in punch, punch, punch. So the guy looked at me and he felt like embarrassed, like, damn. I said, so y'all purposely tried to keep me out of the room. And I started seeing that later on in life. Dudes was let because I started making them their own insecurities. And I still see that because when I'm in a room like with Mariah, I was just in a room with Janet Jackson.
Oh,
And I
that's
had a
amazing.
relationship with
Yeah, I
Janet.
just
That's
seen that.
me.
I just seen that.
And I
Who is
put in
that
there,
like, bro? What was Janet like? Is she a kindred soul like everybody say, man?
like,
I
listen,
just
man,
seen
that's
that yesterday. You just posted
yeah,
it.
but I like it blows my mind because I feel like in a certain degree, less people. I'm not going to say less people, but people they'll they'll approve and salute less than that. You eating a certain plate of food on social media, they saluting that. Oh man, that was best. Oh, you went to this restaurant. But when I'm doing iconic moves, me with Chris Brown last night, you know what I mean? And Chris Brown sold out
You was in
in a room
Boston?
with Jay. Yeah, he was in Philly last night.
Oh, he was in Boston night before in my city. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was in Boston. Yeah, Janet Jackson's in Boston tonight. The night
oh,
before last. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's in
she in
Boston tonight.
Boston tonight.
Janet's here. Oh my goodness. I
That's
love it.
Janet's in
definitely
Boston.
dope, bro. That you got to meet the queen. You know what I'm saying? Cause
Yeah, Janet's in Boston
I ain't
tonight.
Tell
going
her I said
fraud.
hey. Tell her
I'ma
I said
just put this
hello.
out there in the air, on the air while we on the air. I'm a Janet Jackson fan, and Demeter Joe was one of my favorite albums. You know what I'm saying? And when I was a young boy, when the Demeter Joe cover came out, I had to have it. And if y'all
Everybody
know
had
about the
to have it.
Demeter Joe cover,
Yeah, everybody had to have it.
bro.
Yeah.
She's a
I
beautiful woman.
definitely had that whole album
Hey
cover on
man,
my wall. Like, nah, I ain't putting that
I
next to
can say this.
nobody else. Janet get her own spot. You know what I'm saying?
If anybody can ask me in terms of the level of the rum, who would I? So I'm working on a book right now. Well, 2 points. I'm thinking maybe I'll do an everywhere book and then I'll come back and do the next sequel to that, the Never There book. So I've been in some rooms with some of the most famous and infamous people because any type of energy, you need a positive and a negative. So
Well, if
I've
you
been
need
in
a
a room with,
co-host for that, I'm down,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, I've been in a room with, some of the most infamous people as well in the world. You know what I mean? As well as some of the most famous and prestigious people. So, you know, and some of them pictures I didn't even put up on social media. But sometimes, right, in life, we live in a real show me state now. So
Right.
if you don't really show it, they ain't gonna know it.
They ain't gonna believe it.
I
It's
feel
just that simple.
you. I feel you
It's
on that
not,
one.
And
so
I think
I
it's
gotta
like that.
always constantly demonstrate it, huh?
I think it's like that because, I think it's so much flash going on in today's time
Right.
that people have actual short-term memory now. Like, because
They
they
do.
see so much.
Right.
If you can't present what was there, it never happened.
It never
And a lot of
happened.
people feel that way. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of the things that we saw as kids, like with the Sinbad movie, for example. What was it? The Shazam movie.
Shazam.
Yeah.
Yep.
They tried to tell us we didn't see that movie as kids, and it was just a
Sure.
commercial.
They
But
call
bro, it
that
was a whole
the
VHS
Mandela
about it.
effect.
Like,
That's called the Mandela effect. That's going
yeah, the
on.
Yeah.
Mandela effect.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw that as kids, but people were like, "Oh, it never happened." We know what we saw, So I agree with you there, man.
And
So I
Mariah
got
Carey and
another
I have the
question.
same
Here's my
birthday,
next
by the
question.
way. We have the same birthday, Mariah and I. That's
Wow.
my birthday twin, and I celebrate her every year because we got the same birthday.
So being in the room with
I
Mariah
wanna.
and Janet.
My birthday is next week, next Thursday.
Okay,
So
happy birthday.
this
Turn it up.
interview was definitely a birthday treat for me. You know what I'm saying? And I
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you this, man. How do you feel about the current state of boxing right now?
Well,
Is it
in the
going? Is it going in a good place or is it going in a bad place? How do you feel right now?
I mean, with the faces of Jake Paul, which they don't feel like he's a boxer, but he's keeping it going with the fight of the Tank Davises and the Crawfords. I just told somebody, had it not been for Ryan Garcia, we wouldn't have got Earl Spence and Crawford,
Yeah,
right? Had it not been for Ryan Garcia, we wouldn't have got Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. Had it not been for Ryan Garcia, we wouldn't have got Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. So he's very
I would love to see
necessary.
Tank and Garcia go at it.
Yeah.
I
So
would
he's
love to
very
see that.
necessary. And that made Canelo Alvarez and Charlo. That made, again, Earl Spence and Crawford. And that's making all these other fights. That's making Shakur Stevens step up. That's making all these young fighters say, look, man, we going to get this bag. Because before they was just starving artists. It wasn't only one that was getting major money. And he's the gatekeeper right now in that weight class is the Tank Davis because Floyd put him in that position. But he can fight. And he's dangerous. He's lethal. We're not saying he's not. We know that. So with that being said, it's a different pedigree. That's what we started off talking about with the sport, the pedigree. So
Right.
so if I'm exposed and I'm around um um I'm a protege of one of the hottest tickets in boxing. We know Floyd was the hottest ticket in boxing, and I'm his
Absolutely.
protege. Then you can't tell me no. That's the same thing when if I was a protege of Michael Jackson, I'd be selling out and I'd be going around the world because they know it. Because they know I'm right of his vein. When you had Usher, and you got Usher at the end, and then Usher produces Justin Bieber, then it's no miss that Justin Bieber becomes a household name because he produced that.
Correct.
Lil Wayne with Drake, you know what I mean? Lil Wayne with Nicki, he produced
Right.
that. He put them in position, and now they're the biggest artists to date.
But now that you just mentioned some hip hop artists, I gotta ask you, give me your top five, man. I need your top five.
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive, it don't matter.
Dead or alive.
Oh,
Dead or alive.
well, dead, dead.
Top five, dead or alive. Who does One Punch got in his top five?
Big Jada,
Okay.
Who?
Big Jada.
Big
Big
Jada.
Jada,
Okay.
Steven Spiegel,
Siegel.
Beans,
Ben.
and Andre 3000.
Ah,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
He
You
pulled
know,
out
it's crazy that people still put Dre in a top five. How you feel about him doing the Flute album, though?
Um, so
Did you listen to it?
I did. I saw
Shay,
it
did
live.
you listen to it?
I did. That's why I said, hey, he did Andre 3000.
I saw him live performing at the Roots picnic this year.
Oh, you did. Ooh, hold on
That's
one
what's
second.
up. That's what's up.
And got a chance to shop it with him. And really get a couple jewels from him in his mind. That's what I'm talking about. The experiences.
Ooh,
And he's
that's
He's lyrically assassin, and
Yeah,
and when
he's
I talk
definitely
about
lyrically fit out here, and he be freestyling. He be freestyling.
That's
and if
beautiful.
I now the top five of the lyricists, right?
Uh
It go
huh.
Black Thought. It would go Black Thought, Andre 3000, Common. It would be Talib Kweli, and then I would say Most Def. There's the conscience,
Hey, conscious,
Conscious
conscious.
and they
thought.
and they
That tells
danger.
a story about you within itself, right?
Yeah,
Because when I listen to the songs that you put on your IG and stuff,
right.
they are those people.
Yeah.
Now,
The
are we gonna
names you just mentioned, they are those people. And I could see that, like, even within your fighting style, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? When you was knocking them out, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
like, you a Black Thought of boxing. Like, you know what I'm saying? You come right in, do what you needed to do, and put them down. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that was Black Thought way of coming in and just shutting the whole joint down. Like, he's one of my top five, well, top 10, not top five. He one of my top 10. But if we definitely saying top five lyricists, yeah, he definitely in my top five lyricists.
It's dudes that
But if we just
um
going off lyricism alone, yeah, he definitely in there.
now
So
when we go ahead, I'm sorry.
if it's one thing in life that life has taught you, what is that?
Well, now I'm learning patience. Islamically, a word called sabr, which is patience, and waiting my turn, right? And this everything's a level, right? And before, like I said, when as an athlete, I always, the light was on me, and not to say when I stepped away from the sport, the light dimmed, because I always have, I have a strong story, but I don't lead with my story. I don't lead. Every day I'm creating a new narrative. Every day I'm creating something different. And that's opening up another door because I know that A, number one, I can fight. Number two, um, I have a hell of a story. So they're like tools in my toolbox, right? But I don't utilize them as much as I should, right? And number three, I'm highly educated and I use the time. So different tools require different things. So each level, that's what I'm learning. When I go up on a different board, it requires something else that I have to get from my toolbox. I have to get this wrench. I got to get these pliers. I need these nuts and bolts because I'm building another level. And so that's what it's teaching me, and to be patient and wait on different things. But timing of the essence. So we don't. It's not about getting things done at this point. In what I'm learning, it's about drowning out the noise, the
Mm,
distraction,
mm,
the distraction. So, case in point, when you wake up, everybody wakes up and they have an agenda until 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. A sister, a cousin call, child, let me tell you about this. Or, hey, I know this last minute, but I need you to do this. So now you off, or an accident happened. Hey, I got this flat tire, or something happened at the house. The pipe broke. So I get hit with those every day, right?
right,
And now it takes you out of your way of completing your goal. You being supportive of somebody else and don't have a
right,
significant other because her problems is your problem.
right.
Hey, I'm stressing. The boss is giving me problems or such and such. So it's not about the completion of the project. It's about drowning out the noise. At this point, this is what I'm learning. Because if you had children, you have a significant other, you have family. That always going to be some, you know, sidebar or monkey wrench in the game, right?
Right.
And so
Something
once
you
they
have to
throw that,
solve and step in and
yeah,
help
you
with.
gotta be, yeah, you gotta problem solve. And so now that pushes your project back, back, back. But you also have to have that word that I used early on, fortitude, tenacity. So you
Right.
have to know how to drown out the noise to get to whatever you need to do of completion.
Mhm.
So damn, I thought you want to go back to school. You want to, you want to work on your weight. You want to work on yourself. You want to work on picking up a new trade. You have to find the time to drown out the noise. For almost 5 years of my life, when I first came home, I got my first computer. When I was away, they didn't have the technical sound. They had the push button phones, right? And they had just started with the big cell phones, but they didn't have the plain phones that we have now. The technology changed. So when I first came
Right.
on, I had to learn. They were saying, "What's your email?" And I was like, "What the hell is the email?" I had to get an email, the Yahoo. I had to learn it. So when I first got my computer, I would go to school. I called myself to school. I would learn to educate myself from 12:30 till about 5:30 every night. Just look up online, learn how to use the computer, work on something every day. Resumes, typing, learning, boom, 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 boom. Because the world was so advanced and it was moving so fast, I couldn't be handicapped.
Right.
It's one thing
Absolutely.
I'm not knowing. It's one thing I'm not knowing, but now it's not acceptable, especially for a man of saying, I don't know. Why don't you know?
Absolutely.
We got
Right.
Especially
Google.
with wealth.
Yes.
Especially having wealth. You don't want to be a person with wealth and not know nothing either.
Yeah, they're gonna take advantage of you.
Of you. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
definitely.
Hey
I have a
man.
one punch.
Go ahead,
If,
Shay.
if I have
I'm
a
sorry.
question for you. Um, Now, is there one thing that you do like for fun? I know that you have all these things that you do to give back and all these things that you've overcome, all these things that you do to, what is it that you do for fun? What is it that you do to just release like
Great
childlike?
question. Great
Let's get
question. What do you do to
do
de-stress? What do you do for fun?
That is a great question, right? And I
it.
found myself being um trapped into that, right? And it's funny that you say those things, right? I realized only thing that I would do when I was away was watch two channels, right? I would watch the news, I would watch the traveling channel, and I would watch the food channel, right? And I don't think I was saving this story for my book, so y'all getting exclusive.
Ooh,
And
okay.
Y'all hear it.
Exclusive.
so so I will only watch three channels, four channels. The news, the travel channel, the food channel, and boxing. And after that, I take my TV down and put it up underneath my bed. I wasn't even watching, right? And I disciplined myself for many years under them circumstances. So I realized when I was coming home and I was getting up and I was running, one day I was running so hard and it was cold out, freezing. It was Friday night. It was probably like December. And I didn't have a fight coming up. So what the fuck am I? I said, what the heck am I running for? And I'm like, I just heard this voice in my mind, and I came home and I sat on the edge of the bed and I was freezing, and I put a towel, and I had the blanket wrapped around. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed trying to calm down. I turned on the TV, and the Food Channel came on, and I'm watching the Food Channel, and I think it was a place in Maine. It was in Maine, and they was making this burger, and this was a burger that I ain't never seen before. Right? I wrote down an address, and instantly I called the airport, and I asked them, "Where's the flight connected flight to Maine?" I flew there. They didn't have Ubers. I took a cab there. Went to this place, walked in there, and got a burger. Got that burger in the middle of no man's land. All white folks, nobody else. And they looking at me as crazy. I said, I saw this on the cooking channel and I wanted to try it. I ate this burger and it was the best burger I ever had in my life. I turned
That's what's
around.
up.
I turned around and I ordered another one. And
That's
I
what's
never
up.
and you're talking about enjoyment, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
And
Yes.
I didn't know at the time that I was suppressed by those things. But as an athlete, I didn't eat beef. I didn't have hamburgers. I didn't have cheesesteaks because every time it was a fight, I was always watching my weight. Every time it was a birthday, I was always training for the next one. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Now
So
you
I
get to
couldn't have
enjoy life.
Thanksgiving. I didn't have a chance to enjoy life. So
Right.
it's almost like Michael Jackson. And when you're in these things about Michael Jackson, he was a childhood superstar, but he never could play. So
Right.
when he got older, he he built the amusement park because he always wanted one. He could never go as a child because he was
Yeah.
always
Right.
performing. So my life was almost equivalent to that, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know it at the time, right?
That,
Because much
yeah.
is given, much is required, right?
Right. That's what I wanted to know. That's what I wanted to know. What is it for you? Because us, we out here always just going, going. What was your life like? Going, going, going. What was
So
your
I took a year and I flew all around the world and I ate at every restaurant that I ever could imagine.
Hey.
I flew
Hey.
everywhere.
We
And when I
everywhere. Y'all never there.
and that's how that got there. I looked up and
Yes,
I was all over the country.
That's what's up, man.
I love to hear that. You finally got your enjoyment.
Right. I was all over the country and I was traveling and I was eating at the same time. So I looked up 2 years later, I was of course probably like 100 pounds bigger because I never, I
Right.
never ate that food, right? But I had self fulfillment and enjoyment, right?
Right.
And sure, right. The downside about that was, um, you know, it's those things that you feel like you track into the house. You, of course, yeah, I was in a relationship. I dealt, when I came home, I had, a girlfriend, and I was trying to figure out life, right? But then you feel like you taken away from that. But I do appreciate those moments, right?
Right.
But I felt like, that almost was equivalent to like prison because certain things you kind of you're molded into. And a woman is not even her fault because she tried, right? But the suppression, right? And then this is a real thing about mental health too, right? As
Correct.
Right.
well
And
as
this is what the show is about. So
yeah,
let's
right.
talk
But it's
about
about mental health. So so I appreciated the fact of, right, the patience of her being patient with me and me learning, right, the difference of the adjustment, right?
it. Right.
And then learning in that atmosphere, but also those trial and errors as a woman. When a woman, women mature faster than men, right? They learn, and they have they mind state on certain things. They already want the picket white and picket fence when they're children. They're learning. They're playing with the doll babies, and mom is like, "Come on in the kitchen, so I can show you how to cook." So they're learning how to bake, and they like, "Come on into the the laundry room to show you how to wash and fold clothes." They're already properly haywire, but it's nothing like that for a man, right? And
Right.
Right.
so the things that we're learning is from different uncles. Oh man, you got to be a player, and you know what I mean, you got to have more than one woman. And I had an uncle that had two or three, you know what I mean, wives, 'cause they was Muslim. But then I had an uncle that had two or three lives. That was one woman lived up the street, the other one. So they wasn't healthy examples,
Right.
but they're telling you they as a player. But then you're not learning properly of what it is. So now you because we come from damaged, you know what I mean, damaged, fragmented
Absolutely.
structure,
Right.
homes
Right.
and everything. Men is not being honest. So now you taking on all these things and you're not learning, damn, this is where I gotta go. So now I'm continuing in these traits where
Right.
the fact like, yo, listen, let's just be friends because I gotta learn myself. I gotta learn,
Self
you know what I
control.
mean? Yeah, I'm
Self-love.
not really being a different level of love because like damn, you're not gonna suppress me when I've been in prison all these years. You see what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
can't suppress me, and then once you realize, yo, this is a pleasure, and I'm enjoying this. Like, no, nobody want to be put in this position when like now you playing. You know what I'm saying? Women is like you playing, but now I'm saying, am I playing or are you being selfish because you don't understand what my um thoughts and needs are. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? When a
Most
woman was in college and she got out of high school, she done had two or three men and they had menage a trois and they was doing and they was running around doing all that. Oh, I did that in college. Yeah, but during your college years, I was in prison. So it's
right.
not fair to me. Like, yo, I'm supposed to just go and we skipping, we in the altar, and I never really experienced to know what I like.
Right. You had to have life experience. You had not
Yeah,
experienced things yet. So you came out at a whole different level than where she was at. And so you
yeah, yeah.
had to go through your steps first before you could then commit yourself to a full-term relationship or anything. You had to learn
Yeah.
yourself first ultimately before you can commit to anyone. And I say that to anybody. Self-love, self-training, know yourself first because you have to love self first before you can love another person. And that's what
And
you
that's where I thought I went wrong at.
It's
That's
very
the
important
only
to know yourself.
Mhm.
and that's the only drawback when I look back in hindsight and I say and I look at my life because now they're gonna try to guilt you and make you feel bad for the choices you've made. And that wasn't even that as opposed to having an adult conversation and say, hey, he was just trying to learn himself. He don't know you know what I mean? Like I was going for all these years. I don't like it's
We gonna say it
I'm
like it
learning
is though, one punch.
what.
Look, I'm gonna say it the way us South Philly boys would say. Look, I was down and I ain't getting no yams for years. Like what you expect?
Yeah. You want to put me right back on the shelf. And
Right.
I'm always battling, even to this day. I'm saying to myself, I want a woman, not a warden. Like like now, I
Right.
really have a problem with the commitment thing, and I really get claustrophobic with the tie
Yeah, you
down.
had to learn
I'm gonna be
though. It's
honest.
a learning experience, man. And I've
So
been
the
married.
as
I've
you
been married
as
for
you
14 years, right?
yeah, I'm sorry.
I've
Go
been
ahead.
married for 14 years, right?
Hmm.
And when I was a whole lot younger, I had to learn self control. You know what I'm saying? Before even getting to that point, self
Okay.
control was hard for us South Philly dudes. Period. I'm
Hmm.
gonna say it for this specific reason, right? Or I'm not even gonna make it just about South Philly. I'm about to just say men. Period. Right? When you young, Self-control is hard, especially if they own you.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And commitment is something in our part of the city that wasn't really shown like that heavily.
I love
It
women.
just wasn't
And
like
that's the
everybody was
drawback.
just doing what they wanted to do. It wasn't a
Yeah.
lot of men not showing us. They wasn't showing us like, yo, listen, one woman is the way to go. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, well, everybody was doing it at the same time. Look, I'm about to bag her. And it was what it was. But self-control, as you get older, you learn self-control and you learn things that you didn't learn even about yourself. And so for you to even say those things means that you're content and knowing about yourself and things that you learned about yourself that you had to experience.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you experience these things, you was able to understand that you had a hard time with commitment.
Yeah, I didn't want
You
to
know what I'm saying?
turn around there. And in hindsight, a lot of women or experiences that I encountered that I realized that I might have caused friction or hurt internally, but it wasn't intentionally.
Right.
And as I learned myself,
I had to learn that too. So I agree. I had to learn that too because I was another one doing the same thing. And I had to come to grips with that as a grown man. And honestly, bro, I didn't even come to grips with that until probably about 7 years ago. And I said it to my wife, like, yo, when I was young, I was hurting them.
Yeah.
And my wife looked at me like, and I'm like, yeah, I just gotta be real about myself. Like, so for you to say that, I commend you for that, bro, because that's facing reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's facing reality, bro.
It was another level. Let's go back to the levels, right? And then I realized that's what I'm saying when you go to another level in your life, right? And then you're looking at the tools and what's in your toolbox,
Absolutely.
and being honest with thyself. So relationships require so much thinking. They're emotional women, and they want to be complimented. You got to remember, I mean, a decade, and I don't use this as a crutch, but a decade is a long time. So it's not like
Absolutely.
I'm not walking through the door and holding the door, but it's certain things that are taken away, and then you not knowing that, yo, I'm not doing this, but I'm not doing this out of spite. I'm just not knowing. Then I had to really look at my life in the forefront prior to that. I lost my mom at the age of 7, so I didn't have the emotional.
You didn't have the guidance
and all
and the
that. I'm
emotional
not
nurturing part from your mother.
I don't have the nurturing part. So that's my only drawback when I look at my life. I'm saying I wish I was loved properly so I can give love the proper way.
Yo, that's dope for you to say that, bro. I experienced that as well because I actually currently go through that. I have my mom's here, but my mom don't give me the love the way that I need it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't take her for granted. She's here, but if things was better, it would be different. But I just wanted to say that for you to know that and for you to not be afraid to explain that is real because that's hard for a lot of us men to do, explain our feelings on that. You know what I'm saying? Shay, it look like you got something you want to say.
I just wanted to say that that's eye-opening for a man to admit that he struggles with his connections, and especially when you're losing your parents, and there's separation issues that happen, especially because of the trials that you went through so young. And then with with the separation of your family unit. You know what I mean? That causes trust issues and things like that come into play. But then you fought your way out of that with the way that you structured your life. And then so you structured your mind in a different way. And then that's why now, where you fought your way out of that, now you don't have all these other issues of, like, structural issues. You don't have the money issues. You don't have all these other things. But now it's like, okay, now I need love, right? So it's like, okay, now I've done this self-work, right? So now you've done all this self-work and you're like, well, how do I include love into the equation? And I want to be able to give love a proper way where somebody doesn't feel left out or feel like I'm doing something intentionally to them, but this is the space that I'm in. And so a woman has to understand you and the full package that comes with you. And,
Right.
I don't know what you believe in, but I believe in God. And so I say that my creator
There's only one.
There's only one, right? And
Right.
so he's
We
going
call
to,
him a lot of names, but there's
right?
only one.
Right? You can give him whatever name you want, but there's only one. And so he's going to create that. He's going to put that woman that was meant specifically for you, and she's going to understand you because her code is going to fit directly with your code, and she's going to understand those pieces of you and fill in those pieces of you that are missing, right? And it's gonna complete you so that you guys will become one. And so, whatever's been lacking in your life, right?
Mhm.
He's gonna make it so. Don't worry about it. I feel it's coming soon. Just the fact that we spoke about it and there's 3 of us and more watching, and we spoke about this now openly. Guess what? He's got a plan, right? And if your heart was feeling that, it's a coming then. That's all I'm gonna say. I just wanted to speak on it because it was something that obviously we needed to talk about. And I feel like you've done so much work. You're loving on people every day. You're showing love genuinely from your heart. And you know what I'm saying? So he has a plan.
I seen you light up when I said that. I was like, wow, I didn't know. But I mean, it's funny, and I'm expound on this, and then we won't, I'll let y'all have the floor back. But Father's Day just passed, and I've done so much for so many other people, kids, children, right? Being a mentor, training them. If they had problems, and different parents go through something with different women. My son is acting up. He needs somebody to talk to, or my son or daughter need a job. But then, or let's just say they call me and hit me up. Hey, this concert is coming. Could you get my son a ticket or daughter a ticket? And I make a move, but fathers, they come, and I'm not even a physical, father to them or in their life, but I'm a mentor. And then I'm saying to myself, damn, I don't even get a card, a dollar store card, or a phone call, text, or a shot. Then that affects me. And I just had 2 or 3 conversations like that. I had a young boy, he called, and me and his mom is great friends. She's been friends to my sister, and he calls, and he's like, hey, I need, some points on some business. And I'm like, sure. I put him in with, some, he's buying a property. I got him a money lender. I got him, the people, the financiers. I did the whole play, right? And I'm not taking anything away from his physical dad, and he has one. And I know his dad. And I say to him, damn, you hit me for all the things that you want, but you didn't even hit me on Father's Day or text me. I'm not your father. Cool, I'm not even saying that. But I said, but why didn't you hit your dad with those same business tips and different things?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, you're right. The mom jumped in the phone, and, oh man, stop doing that to my son and all that. And I was like, you just as wrong as he is. Because y'all just take. Now, on that same note, I dealt with that with one of my nieces. Now, my niece, I've been trying to get her and take her out on different events, and she liked football, got her Eagles tickets. She liked this concert, just to build with her. This was my older sister. Man, my older sister don't really have a strong relationship, so I tried to build with her, and this is her daughter. So I'm like, yo, for all my niece and my nephews, I try to do something special because I never want the conversation to come back, or we have it 10, 20 years down the line and say, yo, yeah, you was my uncle. I knew who you was, but I never had a relationship with you. You never done anything with me, right? So I always try to lead with that, and remember that, because I said that about my uncle. Like, one of my uncles, he would always, he would have a fight party, and they had Mike Tyson. So, when my mom died, he didn't come out and say, let's go play football or throw a football with me, come around, ask me how I was doing, or even gave me $1 to go to the store and, buy me a juice and some chips. None of that shit. But he kind of
Hey,
got it
watch the
near the
cursing.
end.
Watch the cursing.
Oh, I'm
One
sorry.
punch.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I said none of that. But he kind of got it. Um, and he did come around, and he would invite me to his house to watch the Tyson fights. And I felt like, yo, that was big. When I look back on my life and I look
Right.
back on experiences. So I say to myself, and I look at that, and I say that with my, wholeheartedly, when I'm dealing with my niece and my nephews. My niece, she called probably about 3 weeks ago. And just out of the clear blue, hey, Uncle Si, you listen, you going to the Roots picnic? And I'm like, yeah, if I'm in town, I'm probably will go. And she said, yeah, I know the tickets is real high. I was thinking about going. I said, all right, well, if you want to go, then I don't have a problem with you. And she said, because I'm like, she's never come to me for anything. But the next vein was, oh, but the only thing is, me and my friend was interested in going. These tickets is about $1,500 a piece for the passes for 2 days. That's 33 grand. I'll do it for you. You my niece. But I'm not doing it for them. So then I say to myself, damn, I got off the phone, and I'm hurt. I'm distraught. I text her, and I'm like, yo, this is how you hit me. I said, I don't hear from you, and I'm glad you thought about me. But in the fact, you must have told somebody, yeah, my uncle can do it, and they got on you. So you wasn't even motivated to do it yourself. Somebody put the battery in your back to say,
Right.
hey, go, call your uncle, call your uncle. Now she calling me on account of somebody else because they want to get in. And I'm like, how fraudulent is that? I'm hurt. Like, you hurt me with that. Because I mean, several times I made several attempts to try to take you out and build the bond. And you reneged last minute. Oh, I gotta go. I gotta work tomorrow. And that hurt. And I'm spending money, but I'm like, okay, I'll take it. So you
Right.
You're building bonds regardless. That's what I want to say to you. You're building connections and you're making memories regardless, with children everywhere that are going to remember your name, that are going to remember those moments that you've created with them. Because you're frozen right now, too. He's frozen, too.
You froze up a little bit. One punch.
One punch, you're frozen.
Oh,
He's frozen on us.
I don't know if One Punch can hear us. Yeah, I think his phone rang, and that's what that was. And if it was, we'll bring him back in. Um,
We already
yeah,
added.
man, y'all hear it, y'all. One Punch was giving us the real, and I want to agree with him on that when it comes to, sometimes when you want to build bonds with people and they only calling you because of, what's going on in that moment and who you are in that moment. I
It
want to
can hurt.
say that, you know, and a lot of times they don't understand what that feels like when you're only being called because you are who you are, or they need you. But when you want to really build with them, people aren't around. You know what I'm saying? I go through that as well from time to time. I've experienced that as well. And I've experienced it a lot. You know, I've built relationships over the years with plenty of people, especially when I was younger and I was building my studios up, you know, building the studio. And I'm telling people, oh, come through. I got the studio. And they come through, and then they'll come and then they'll dip. But then it started to become they only coming because I got the studio. They not coming to chill. They not checking up on me. They not hitting my line to check up on me. And, you know, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? In a lot of cases and in a lot of instances, because, you know, you're really genuinely trying to build relationships with people. And in that same instance, you know, you're not getting met with that part of it. So I understand what he was saying.
Yeah, I understood that too. It doesn't feel good when you know that it's like it's only genuinely just to use you. It's
right.
You know, it's not because I'm checking up to see if you're okay. Are you breathing today? Did you eat?
Right.
Are you okay? No. What do you have for me today? You know,
right.
like
yeah, it does get like that. It gets like that a lot, you know, and for a person of his stature, I could understand how he feels with that, because, you know, constantly moving, you want to build relationships with the people closest to you anyway. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's hard because you're moving around, but when you're not moving around, you really want to make those bonds.
Right. You want to trust,
and you're hoping that you can build those bonds and have that relationship with whoever it is that you're trying to build that relationship with.
Right.
But
definitely.
I don't know what happened. He had a phone call. I don't know if he's coming back. But if he's not, I want to say thank y'all for tuning in. You know what I'm saying? We are actually over the mark of our usual episode. We gave you guys a treat today, and it was a little over the 1 hour mark. We are an hour and 46 minutes into this episode, and I want to thank y'all for rocking with us. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Simon One Punch Carr's story. You know, how he feels about things you learned about him, how you feel about the sport of boxing. And if you're a boxing fan, this was a treat for you. So I'm going to say it like this. We everywhere.
You
Y'all
never
there.
All right, y'all. Thank you.
And we know how life can get. So, you know, One Punch probably was busy and had to go. So we're going to end this episode like that. Thank y'all for tuning in. It's your boy Tigmatic, the real Shay Rosa, and you've watched another edition of the Podcast with Tigmatic. Peace.